Hello students, welcome to the third lecture on evolution of mobile communication, unit number 6, part 3 for BE and TC during this COVID-19 lockdown. Students, hope you are well at your end and healthy too. Student, I hope you are listening all the series carefully so that you can attend unit test 2 and further university examinations. So far, we have seen LTE and its frame structure in lecture number 1 and lecture number 2 respectively. Before we start, let us see your understanding with few questions. So there is test your understanding assignment number 2 on your screen. I will give you 1 minute. You please note down the questions and try to solve it by your leisure hours. Okay, let us start our today's discussion, that is architecture of LTE. Basically, architecture of LTE is divided into two different functions. The leftmost side and rightmost side you can notice. We'll have detail on each. Let us understand the long form of the terms which appear in the diagram. Here, NB, that is called as base station or node B. RNC is called radio network controller. SGSN is called serving GPRS support node. GGSN is gateway GPRS support node. On the right hand side, you can see ENB is called EUTRAN node B. MME is mobility management entity. SGW serving gateway. PGW is packet data network gateway. So this architecture is for 3G, LTE 3G network. Similarly, you can see and notice architecture of LTE for 4G network. Let us learn detail about this. It is a high-level network architecture of LTE is comprised of three main components: user equipment, evolved EUMTS terrestrial radio access network, that is EUTRAN, and the third, the evolved packet core EPC. The evolved packet core communicates with the packet data network in the outside world, such as internet, private corporate networks, or the IP multimedia subsystem. The interfaces between the different parts of the system are denoted as UU, SI, and SGI as shown below. On the leftmost side of this figure, you can see a user end, that is equipment, and the right hand side you can see cloud, which is also referred as server public dial network. And between these two, there is a communication between two parts of the LTE. As shown in the previous diagram, this is the first part of this diagram, that is EUTRN, and this is EPC, that is your block here, evolved packet core. Here the dotted line indicates signal carrying line and the solid line indicates traffic carried by this. So let us learn about this more in detail in comparison with the architecture. The internet architecture of the user equipment for LTE is identical to one used by UMTS and GSM, which is actually called as mobile equipment. The mobile equipment comprised of three modules, that is mobile termination, that is MT. This handles all communication functions. Terminal equipment, that is TE, it terminates the data streams. Universal Integrated Circuit Card, that is UICC, also known as SIM card for LTE equipment. It runs the application known as Universal Subscriber Identity Module, that is USIM. A USIM stores user-specific data very similar to 3G SIM card, and this keeps information about user's phone number, home network identity and security key, etc. Let us see detail about UTRAN. The architecture of evolved UMTS terrestrial radio access network has been illustrated in this diagram on the screen. The UTRAN handles radio communication between mobile and the evolved packet core and just has one component, the evolved base stations called eNode B, also referred as ENB. Each ENB is a base station that controls the mobiles in one or more cells. The base station that is communicating with mobile is known as its serving station, ENB. LTE mobile communicates with just one base station and one cell at a time, and there are following two main functions supported by ENB. The ENB sends and receives radio transmission to all the mobiles using analog and digital signal processing functions of the LTE air interface. The ENB controls low-level operation of all its mobiles by sending them signaling messages such as handover commands. Each ENB connects with the EPC by means of S1 interface, and it can also be connected to nearby base station by the X2 interface. This is X2 here, and this is the S1 interface. So let us repeat. Each ENB connects with EPC. Each ENB connects with EPC by means of S1 interface, and it also connected to the nearby base station by X2 interface, which is mainly used for signaling and packet forwarding during handover. A home ENB is base station that has been purchased by user to provide femtocell coverage within the home. A home ENB belongs to a closed subscriber group, CSG, and can only be accessed by mobiles with USIM, and that also belongs to closed subscriber group. Now let us see the second part of the diagram. This is evolved packet core, also called as the core network. The architecture of evolved packet core is shown in the diagram. There are few more components which have not shown in the diagram to keep it simple. These components are like earthquake and tsunami warning systems. The equipment identity register EIN and policy control and charging rules functions are not shown in this diagram. Let us have a brief discussion on EPC. Home subscriber net server, that is HSS component, is carrying forward from UMTS and GSM, and is a central database that contains information about all the network operators' subscribers. The Packet Data Network (PDN) gateway (PGW) communicates with outside world Packet Data Network (PDN) using SGI interface as shown in the previous diagram. Each packet data network is identified by access point name (APN). The PDN gateway has same role as the GPRS support node, that is GGSN, and serving GPRS support node SGSN as shown in this diagram, SGSN with UMTS and GSM. The serving gateway SGW acts as a router and forward data between the base station and PDN gateway. The serving gateway SGW acts as a router. The mobility management entity MME controls the high-level operations of the mobile by means of signaling messages and home subscribers server HSS, not shown in the diagram. The policy control and charging rule functions is a component which is not shown in the diagram but is responsible for policy control, decision making, as well as controlling the flow-based charging functionalities in the policy control enforcement function, which resides in PGW. So this is all about architecture of LTE. I hope you got the clear idea about these two sections of LTE. For you, there is some topic for self-study. You have studied LTE 3G architecture. Refer 4G architecture and identify differences in both. So the assignment number 2, just starting the session I have shown you. This is the answer for assignment number 2. The LTE only multiband phones are able to use. It is true. LTE FDD uses paired frequency to upload and download data, and LTE TDD uses single frequency. This is true. LTE TDD working better at lower frequencies and LTE FDD working better at higher frequencies. This is false. It is exactly reverse. The LTE FDD spectrum is generally cheaper to access and has less traffic. It is false. LTE TDD is a cheaper to access spectrum. One frame equal to 10 subframe is true for LTE frame structure. Yes, it is true. Number of subframes in one frame is 10 and number of slots in one subframe is 2. This means that we have 20 slots within one frame. This is true. One slot is made up of 6 small blocks called symbol. It is false. It is of 7 small blocks. Peak data rates for LTE allowed are downlink 50 Mbps and uplink 100 Mbps. This is false. It is exactly reverse. So this is clear to all. Hoping this architecture of LTE will stop here for today. Let us learn the next part in next lecture. Thank you.